Hello Fly Tires, welcome back. I'm Matt, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Now this next pattern is number 26 in the Great Smoky Mountain series. This one is called the Backscratch. Now it's a nymph. I'm not sure exactly what it is supposed to imitate. Probably a mayfly type big enough. I guess it could be a stonefly, but it's a pretty cool looking pattern. I tried to do the research on it and I couldn't really find much. Now Don Kirk, where I got the pattern in his book right here, says it likely originated from a fly called the Brown Hackle. Now can you imagine that? A fly called the Brown Hackle? Try researching that. You'll get all kinds of pictures of flies out there with brown hackle on them. But there is one that is called the Brown Hackle Fly. Now it's a wet fly. It's got a peacock herl body, like the one we're doing tonight, and obviously a brown hackle on it. But it's not a palmered hackle like we're doing, and it didn't have goose biots for the tail. So it's not exactly like it, and I really can't find a whole lot more information on this one called the Backscratch. But it is a pretty cool looking fly. It's fairly easy to tie. I think it's going to be effective, and I think you'll like it. So let's give it a shot. There it is in the vise, the Backscratch. Now it is a nymph. I know it's got a lot of dry fly looking hackle, but it is not. You'll see as we tie it. So I'm tying this on a size 12. It's a 2X long nymph hook. Now normally on a size 12 or 14, I'd probably use about 0.15 weight. Now this one, since it does have some dry fly hackle, I'm using 2 sizes heavier for my wire wrap. This is 0.25, and I'm putting a lot of it on here. I want this thing to get deep. So almost the entire length of the shank. And I'm going to be using red thread. Of course, it's my standby 70 denier. I'll put a little dam behind it, take some wraps over the weight, and then put another dam up front, then bring it back down to the bend. Okay, that body and wrap look pretty good right there. Let's work on the tail. Brown goose biots. It's going to be a big long tail too, so grab 2 of your longer ones. I'll grab 2 that are close together. That way they'll have the same thickness. Okay, got 2 goose biots right here, brown. Now this is not a prince nymph. It's not a copper john. These are going to be a big, long tail. So I'm going to go about right, even longer. I'm going to go right there, probably a length of a hook shank. And what I'll do, I'll put them a little bit closer to me, put 1 loose wrap around it, and then a second wrap was just a little bit tighter. Now I haven't really secured them completely yet. I want to check my position and the length. I think that looks fine. Now I'll put some tighter wraps. Now the reason I started it a little closer to me, because sometimes that first wrap will spin them around on the top of the hook. So if you start it off on your side and a little bit of spin, they'll be right where you want them. I'm going to go ahead and snip those pieces off, and I'm going to try and bury this right here. Okay, now here's another tip. We've got 3 components we're about to put on next. We're going to tie a brown hackle and a wire rib and some peacock herl. Now the tip is put them on in the opposite order that you're going to wrap them. So imagine they were already on. We would be wrapping the peacock herl, then secure it with the wire rib, and then the hackle. So we want to put them on the exact opposite of that. I've got some brown dry fly hackle right here. It's a little bit webby right here. That would be a little bit long, I think. So what I do, I will pull it around the hook till I get about the length I want, and it's about like that. So I just take this and then strip some of these fibers off till I get a little bare stem. That bare stem right there is going to be enough to tie it in. I'll catch it in at about a 45-degree angle, 2 or 3 good securing wraps, and I always leave a little bit of bare stem. Makes that first wrap easier. So okay, we've got that. Now I'm using a size small. This is not for looks or flash or anything. The wire rib isn't. It's really just to lock the peacock herl in. So take 4 or 5 inches of small brassy wire. I'm going to catch this in on my side right here, probably And then I'm pulling it so it's just at the back of my weighted wraps. Okay. Got that caught in pretty well. Now, peacock herl. I haven't tied with peacock herl in at least a week, which is crazy for me. I tie all kinds of peacock herl flies. Grab 2 of your longer ones, because this is a pretty long body right here. So grab 2 of your longer ones, snip off maybe the first inch, get rid of that really brittle stuff. Catch this in. Take it back to where we're going to start wrapping it. Now, one more tip for wrapping peacock herl. I'm going to leave my thread about midway, because usually when you're wrapping this, I'm not going to spin it as a rope. I'm just going to wrap them side by side. And usually by the time you're about halfway up, they'll start spreading out on you. And if you leave that thread right there, it will make for a neater body. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I've got these right up against the thread, and I'm just using that thread to help hold them closer together, so they're not spreading out at all on me. I'm going to take this up to about, I would say, maybe 2 eye lengths back before I catch it in. We're not putting any big hackle on it. We don't have too much of a head, but we do want a fairly good sized thread head. Let's go ahead and snip that off. Now, you saw how I wrapped that, was over and away from me and under and toward me. So I'm going to wrap this wire rib counter to that, under then over, and just fairly evenly spaced all the way up. Okay, catch this end up front with a couple of securing wraps, maybe even more. I'm going to do about 4. I'm going to put some tension on my thread here. Got tension right there. Will help hold it down while I spin this off. And with this small wire, you're probably not going to leave any sharp points. Check and see, not really, but if you do, just throw a couple of loose wraps down right there to help bury it. Now you can see that wire rib, but not too much. And the purpose of counter wrapping it is now we can wrap this the same way we wrap the peacock herl. And this is just palmered all the way up, fairly open wraps. I mean, it's not a dry fly, and we don't want a ton of hackle on here. It's heavily weighted, so it's going to sink. And these are going to give it just some nice fuzzy legs, a little bit of movement through the water. Couple of wraps right here to secure this. Is that enough? Probably. Let's go 1 more, 2 more. How about that? Sure, why not? Because we're building a big head anyway. It's not a dry fly where we have to worry about economy of thread. In fact, we need a lot more thread on this head. So a couple more securing wraps right here. I'll take my thread right back up to the eye, and I'm going to build a ramp, and I'm going to build a big red thread head. 3 rhyming words, that's pretty cool. A red thread head. Now, I've never seen this tied. Well, I've only seen it in 2 books, but I'm wondering, could you put a bead head on this? You probably could. You could put a tungsten bead on it and then make it really heavy. But I think one of the key features of this fly is the red head. So I think that's big enough right there. You could probably even go a little bit bigger. We're going to put some head cement, some UV resin on it to make it a nice big shiny red head. A shiny red thread head. Put my scissors up there and slide that in. Might want to push these back. I don't necessarily want them going way forward, but I think that's going to look okay right there. And my cool Wapsi UV resin dispenser. Now, if any of you out there tie with a Regal Revolution vise, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One of the coolest things about this vise is, well, I put that on and just spin this around, even that, that UV resin around. I can just give it a spin like this, and it will spin about 20 times while I put the lid on my glue, and then I grab my light. So that spinning it helped probably even out some of that glue, spread it out. So I'll give it a little spin and put the UV light on it for about 10 or 15 seconds. And there you go, it's done. The Smoky Mountain Backscratch Nymph. Pretty cool looking pattern. I've honestly never fished it. I have no idea how effective it's going to be, but what's it look like? I don't know, I guess depending on what size, a mayfly nymph, maybe even a stonefly nymph if you make it into a big enough size. But that's it, folks. Pretty cool pattern, pretty neat looking fly. I think it's going to be effective. I'm going to give it a shot next time I'm out on the Savage River, so I hope you will too. That's all. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.